But for some of us who are, we happen to be in an area where we're not next to a hill or on top of a hill, or we're not next to a culvert, or we're not next to any kind of body of water. We just get a lot of rain, and so I look at all the pictures and I say to myself, I hope that my friends out there aren't thinking that we're floating downstream somewhere. We're fine. But so I was having lunch today, and I was thinking, for as much as the rain, and someone I heard someone say, was quoted as saying, "Boy, I it was raining. And I felt like it was an earthquake." It was like mixed metaphors of 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 all these, you know, God, you know, these horrific events, because there are about 17 people, I think, is the latest count related to the storms in terms of storm deaths. I mean, it's just bad. And the irony also is that for all the water that we're getting from the rain, we can't Californians can't keep it because the ground is so saturated that it's just flowing away. So it's it's only good for one set of people, and that's the hardy skiers who are saying, "Oh God, let's hit the slopes." And there are people trying to, get through all the. I guess there are chain requirements, but they're hardy skiers. They love what's going on, but for the rest of us, I mean, they're suggesting, stay indoors, don't go out. Yeah, or we're doing that. And so I'm having lunch today, and it just reminded me that for all the bad weather we've had, man, uh, we're blessed. We're blessed to be in California, which is a state where, for the most part, you like most of the people. You are blessed to be in a state where we grow a lot of our own food. Well, we don't grow a lot of our own food, but a quarter of the nation's food comes from, the Central Valley, the breadbasket. And there I was having lunch. I was eating my I have one avocado tree, just one, and I'm eating part of the bumper crop this year, which I think we might have had 10 avocados, and they fall down, and we pick them up and eat them as fast as we can. They're great. So I had an avocado. I had broccoli sprouts, which we also grow in a little jar. You get easy ways to find out how to get them, but you get your broccoli sprouts. And so I'm having my broccoli sprouts and my avocado sandwich on bread that we also made. So it was like self-sufficient Californian, watching the rain, hit the pavement outside my window, thinking, yeah, it's bad out there, but we're indoors. We've got heat. We're blessed. We're all very fortunate that, like I said, people, if you live near a hillside or near a mountaintop, people down in Montecito, an area that I love, Montecito, down there by Santa Barbara, pretty, beautiful homes, beautiful landscaping. But those hills, and they're getting too much rain, and they've been socked by not just floods but by fires. So it can't catch a break down there. And then, of course, further up north, you get to Santa Cruz, and it's terrible around Felton. And I just saw a couple of news reports. It, it's but we'll get through this. Although we've had 5 atmospheric river events, we're going to have 4 more in the coming days, and so no let up. So I I get a little sense of gratitude by being able to be indoors and have my avocado and sprouts on wheat flour bread, all homemade sandwich here in California. And then I come up here and I say, "Hey, it's Emil amongst Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. How are you? We're going dry today." I couldn't get the music up. I guess, as Don McLean would say, this is the day the music died. I guess I couldn't get the music up for some reason. I was going to switch microphones because I thought, Well, maybe people would like to see me without my Mickey Mouse ears. They're kind of a flattened, the headphones. But I was going to put on something else. But then I was having a second sandwich and I didn't have time. Anyway, we're here. Welcome to the program. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific live. I think we actually came on at 2:01 today, but it's good to be here. Lots of news for Asian American types. Uh, Look, the big news still for Asian Americans, and I mentioned it in December, and I want to mention it now because nothing has been done, and I want to just remind you that as all the other news that is broken and is taking place, don't forget Purdue. Don't forget Purdue Northwest, and this is the thing. Everyone seems to have gotten off Purdue Northwest because no one is going to take any action in terms of what can take place now at Purdue. And if you don't know, a month ago on December 10th, this is January 11th. I mention it now because it's about a month that the chancellor of Purdue Northwest started talking in an accent and he identified it as Asian. If it was just gibberish, we'd say, oh, the guy's making a joke, he's making fun, but he identified it as Asian, which means he had an intended target in mind, which means that this was a kind of thinking that is more premeditated than not, making fun of Asians. This is Chancellor Thomas Keon, Purdue Northwest in Hammond, Indiana. And I bring it up because also it's more than a month, more than 30 days since that time, December 10th at the commencement. He did apologize, a sort of a quick pro forma kind of thing, one of those if you were hurt kind of apologies, not the kind of really heartfelt one that I think is deserving for a man who calls him the chancellor and CEO, calls himself the chancellor and CEO of really one of the. Am I overstating it to say it's one of the great universities? It's a traditional major university in America. All right, it's big. Purdue Northwest, part of Purdue University. And it's also significant. All right, he made his apology, which the board of trustees accepted, and then the 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 professors, the faculty senate, voted no confidence, asked him to resign. He didn't. The board of trustees then later said we will reprimand him, and that's it. People think that's it, but it's not over because there are Asian Americans and other people of color at Purdue University who say we need to hear from the president. And it's significant to hear from the president because the president is Asian American. He is Mung Chang, Dr. Mung Chang, who is a young hotshot academic, went to Stanford, got his PhD in electrical engineering and math. I mean, the guy's brilliant, right? Went to Princeton, made a name for himself, was lured to Purdue. He is a president of the entire university at age 40. And everyone was holding their breaths, wondering, are we going to hear him take on Thomas Keon for his obviously racist actions? Now, everyone says it's racism. Even the apologists say, well, he's racist, but it's okay. That's essentially what they say. But what about the other people who it's not okay with? So if it's racist, it's racist. It needs more than an apology. It needs more than a reprimand. I'm not saying cancellation. I'm saying the guy should be reassigned. He shouldn't be the head of a university like Purdue Northwest. He shouldn't be a leader of a university that preaches diversity if his message was, hey, I'm just joking. Doesn't cut it if you're chancellor. It cuts it if you're someone like me. I'm not a chancellor. I'm not in charge of anything. And that's why I mention it now. I'll mention it every now and then until something happens. I've been watching the news, and the president, Meng Chang, has acted like a very dutiful recipient of the benevolence of his sponsors. Republican, former governor of Indiana, Mitch Daniels, who was president of Purdue for 10 years prior, he's lured this guy in. He's playing dutiful immigrant Asian genius, not rocking the boat, going along, even though he knows that the professors, the faculty at Purdue Northwest, have voted no confidence and want this guy Thomas Keon out. The president of the whole university is not doing a thing, and he's Asian American. And I mention Meng Chang because I'm going to mention some other people. It's kind of like he is one of us, but he's one of them. And what do you do when one of us is one of them? You say, well, we're not going to get any justice here. I mean, we've seen this a lot in the last couple days, right? There's Meng Chang, Asian American. You look to him and say, help? No help. In for Latinos, you got Byron Donalds being put up as, or not Byron Donalds, not for Latinos, but for African Americans. You have Byron Donalds being put up as possibly the first African American Speaker of the House. And he was raked over the coals the other day on MSNBC. I didn't catch it, but I got the right is very upset because people have been accusing Byron Donalds, of being a prop. He's the guy from Florida. He's only had one go round in the House. That's how far back behind in diversity efforts and getting, people of color in the Republican Party. But they were willing to use their affirmative action card. They wouldn't call it affirmative action because it wasn't really. It was a kind of fake affirmative action where they put Byron Donalds up there and say, look, we can make history with the first African-American speaker. They made a big deal about it, right? These were the 20 hardliners who hated McCarthy, were like trying to block him. They said, hey, look, we're going to block you with the first African-American Speaker of the House. History, which is really kind of cynical if you look at it. Because on the surface, it looks good, but really, Byron Donalds was just being used. He was just being used by the hardliners to what? Play politics against Kevin McCarthy. And what does Kevin McCarthy do? He has his own black conservative, John James, which he puts up. John James he wasn't even sworn in yet. He's a representative elect. And they let him nominate Kevin McCarthy just to show, hey, you got a black, we got a black. That is the most cynical way of looking at affirmative action. Because are they serious about it? No way. They're not serious about affirmative action. I mean, that's why affirmative action fails. Affirmative action fails because the cynics say, let's nominate this guy with one term in office as the Speaker of the House because he's the black. Is he qualified? Oh, sure, he's a good guy. He's qualified to do their bidding. That's not exactly a prop, but close. He looks the part to serve their political purpose. And then, what do you know? The cynics, that we're talking about Republicans now. Kevin McCarthy says, well, you're going to have your black, here's my black, John James, and John James gets up and gives a speech, practically making it sound like Kevin McCarthy is the second coming of Martin Luther King. Like he's some kind of civil rights hero. John James said, "Oh, first time I saw Kevin McCarthy, I was up there in the house, and we're standing underneath Frederick Douglass's portrait." And Kevin McCarthy said, "One day I would like to see the Congress look like America." Yeah. Yeah. So this is the problem with affirmative action. When cynics, like the Republicans, try to make it sound like, hey, we tried. We tried to put these guys up, but if they're not qualified, if they're no good, if they fail, that's on them. And then they have this phony baloney phrase. Well, we promise equal opportunity, not equal results. Well, yeah, you're not going to get equal results if you pick the wrong people. And if you're not going to get equal results, then what kind of equality is that? We're not just opening the door and saying, here we are. We need results. Anyway, so the affirmative action debate isn't dead, but you saw it in Congress. And like I said, it's happening with all of us, African Americans. We saw in that speaker debacle the other day. It's happening with Asian Americans. We see it with this guy, Dr. Mung Chang. Oh, he can levy, holy hell on this Thomas Keon, the racist chancellor. But Mung Chang was brought in by the Republican former governor, who was also president of Purdue for 10 years, Mitch Daniels. And so here's Mung Chang saying nothing about the Asian accent from Thomas Keon at the commencement address, or at the commencement exercises of Purdue Northwest on December 10th. Here we are 30 days after, more than 30 days after, nothing. I'm just going to remind everyone about this situation because no one's going to talk about it, but I can talk about it on my little micro talk show here because it's an Asian American issue and we can't let it go away. We have to just keep reminding them. Oh, remember this racism? Remember this racism you excused? You Republican chancellor types, university heads who want to claim diversity. You want to claim that you're so diverse, but you won't go after racism when it's in your midst amongst your leadership. So the Purdue question, I'll keep raising it. And then in terms of Latinos, here's a sense of affirmative action, Kevin McCarthy style. And it happened today. Oh, by the way, I am going to talk about Michelle Yeoh. I love Michelle Yeoh. She's a young gal, compared to me. I love her, and I want to talk about her speech. But I just want to finish we talked about an Asian American, Mung Chang. We talked about the African Americans, John James of Michigan, and also Byron Donalds, right, used as props in the speaker thing. For Latinos, all you have to do is look at George Santos. Today, you had Nassau County call for him to resign. And Kevin McCarthy looks at George Santos as his affirmative action hire for Congress. Actually, not his, because he says the voters did it. And it's up to the voters. But Kevin McCarthy needs George Santos's vote because right now Kevin McCarthy he has a 4-vote majority. 4-vote. If he loses George Santos, it's down to 3. And then everything that Kevin McCarthy wants to do will be very, very difficult. But here is something, I want to play this because it was a gaggle of reporters and they cornered after Nassau County said that George Santos should resign. The reporters went to Kevin McCarthy and asked him the question.
The Nassau County GOP called on him to resign today. Does that affect your thinking at all? What do you intend to do about Congressman Santos?
I try to stick by the Constitution. The voters elected him to serve. If there is a concern, he has to go through the ethics. We'll let him move through that.
So he says, I try to stick by the Constitution. The voters elected, and there is a concern. And if there's a concern, he has to go through the ethics. Let him move through that, which is a cop out because what it says is Kevin McCarthy is willing to let a person who is a proven liar on his resume, a proven liar about everything that he said during the campaign, essentially meaning that he was elected on false pretenses. He's willing to say, well, the voters voted for him. He should say, well, the voters, really, he's saying the voters were stupid enough to vote for him. So we'll let the voters vote him out if once they get smart. Well, they're smart. They want him out. They're asking him to resign. Won't the big speaker, Kevin McCarthy, do anything about it? And the answer is no. Because Kevin McCarthy is sticking to the Constitution. He says,
right now, the voters have a voice in the decision. It's not where people pick and choose based upon somebody's precedent. So he will continue to serve.
Would you welcome some of these allegations, though? I mean, he himself has admitted to fabricating parts of his resume.
Yeah, and so did a lot of people here in the Senate and others. Another decision in two.
I mean, that really is ridiculous. He's
here in the Senate and others.
He's asked that the reporter asked him, well, George Santos admits to lying on his resume. And the best answer that Kevin McCarthy could come up with is, well, yeah, a lot of people here do the same things. Oh, really? But are they electeds? Or, I mean, that makes George Santos really a kind of an affirmative action hire for Kevin McCarthy. And here's the other thing, sort of linked to Thomas Keon, the white guy at Purdue who won't resign. People are asking him to resign. The board, not the board of trustees, but the faculty, the Senate faculty is asking he resign. He's not resigning. And now people are asking that George Santos resign. And George Santos says he's not. So George Santos is the Republican elected congressperson out of Great Neck and Long Island and that area there. The Republicans there are furious because they were happy that they had a Republican, because usually that's a Democratic seat. And now the Republicans want to hold on to George Santos. Imagine this. The guy who is most valued in the Republican Party is a verified, admitted liar, which I guess was sort of like the former twice impeached president. So that's Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy nonsense for today. And, good people getting kicked off of committees and being the whole committee assignment thing is a big deal. And we talked about how we didn't know what was going to happen, what kind of deals were made. Apparently, the deals that McCarthy made was he's going to get a lot of those hardliners who were among the 21 people against him, put them in plum assignments, appropriations, plum assignments where they can muck up things and ask questions that are irrelevant. Stop the government from going forward. I mean, this debt ceiling idea, to link the debt ceiling to, I mean, if you say you're linking the debt ceiling to spending cuts, meaning you're not going to raise the debt ceiling because, God, we got to be responsible. It's irresponsible not to raise the debt ceiling. I mean, that really is the crazy thing. And I was just looking for something about where we are with the debt ceiling. I mean, we are in this situation right now where we're close to having to deal with the limit of where we are with the debt ceiling. And if we have these hardliners in Congress who won't raise the debt ceiling because, well, we have to be responsible, we have to just have spending cuts. I know it sounds high-minded. I know it sounds high-minded like the way you would run your household budget. But your household budget is not the budget of the United States of America. And if you do something as cockamamie as that, that's irresponsible. Because what happens is the consequences of that are massive in terms of the global economy, let alone the domestic economy. It sounds frugal as heck and right on some in some aspects in terms of your household budget. Yeah. I mean, you know, you could tighten your belt, but in terms of the American budget, well, here's the thing. Even in the Republican administration, even in the Trump administration, uh, they didn't do that. They blew up the budget. They blew up the deficit. Spending cuts? No, but when they're in charge, now there'll be spending cuts. And like I said, last week, when the vote was just on the speakership and all the heartache that caused, oh my God, it will be nothing like the heartache that's caused when the United States defaults on its bills, when the United States essentially has to shut down some things because hardliners refuse to budge on debt ceilings. And I was looking for the dispatch that I got this morning that showed that we are fast approaching the debt ceiling limit. So not good. And it's just more of a where we are in this kind of divided government. And it makes me want to just hold up by my window, look at the rain, and eat my avocado and sprout sandwich. I don't get the music working, but I have my wipe working. Look, the big news of the day, though, was this morning when all the planes went all crazy. They're not saying that it's, you know, linked to some kind of cyber attack. Who knows? It might be. But you see how significant it was when this notice system broke down. And if you can't tell airlines and aviators that pilots, if you can't tell them where the places they should watch for are, then people are really flying blind. And they couldn't do that. They didn't have built-in redundancies. Thank goodness for redundancies, right? You get 2 of everything. Now we need like 4 of everything. That's why government costs so much, because things break down. Anyway, the Buttigieg is looking at this. Is the thing about, look, I like Buttigieg, but when you're a bureaucrat, you're brought in because, you know, he was a mayor. And then this is a kind of affirmative action where he ran for president. Would he have been good as a president? Who knows? He's growing. Biden gives him a chance to run the Department of Transportation. And all this stuff is happening. He's young, relatively inexperienced, but he knows how to handle municipal budgets. That's a form of affirmative action, but a good one if he does a good job. I'm just saying that when people get picked to do these jobs, there's always a little affirmative action there. But the bottom line of why someone gets hired is, well, Biden liked Buttigieg. Buttigieg was popular. Buttigieg could develop, and now he's under fire to try to find the answer. And really, the worst case would be, yeah, this was a cyber attack. But we do know that there are all sorts of cyber things going on. We know that. We know that from the elections. We know that from cyber ransoms. So I just hope that we find out quickly what's going on, because it's a little disconcerting how fragile the well-being of our flying public, or just our general good nature, our our general wellness is very, very, very fragile. It's just kind of amazing, when we see how we're lucky when we're able to get through all this, right? I mean, we really are like to get through all this without a hitch, to get through a day. I mean, when I worked the night shift, covering mostly spot news, local as a reporter on television, you got to see, is everyone going to be on good behavior if we don't make a news story tonight? I mean, when there wasn't a news story, it was like, there was nothing going on. Thank goodness. But we're always, as news people, we're always looking for things. Got our ear to the police scanner. I'm just saying, it's always a good day. It's always remarkable when the worst you have is something on the police scanner. But then when you get something like today, like I got an alert about, FAA, the airplanes have been grounded because of this glitch. I think it's more than a glitch. Let's hope that it was just another example of the need for our technological infrastructure to get beefed up. I mean, we addressed infrastructure in the last Biden budget, but now I think we should be more aware of what we need. And here's the thing: we got this divided Congress. How hard do you think is it going to be to get what we need when the Republicans seem focused on really one thing, and that is getting Joe Biden and getting anyone in the Biden family? I mean, they announced the weaponization of government committee or whatever they're calling it. I'm just saying we got to get through these 2 years, and we're also in a campaign year for 2024, the presidency. Look at how the Republicans are running things in Congress, and thank goodness for those checks and balances, a Democratic Senate and a Democratic presidency. And maybe that's the way to keep things balanced, for now at least. All right. Now I need to talk about Michelle Yeoh. I need to talk about last night's Golden Globes. First of all, it's pretty amazing that the Golden Globes got called on the carpet because their organization, their foreign press, but it's mostly white guys, and they said there wasn't enough diversity. That was the rap. It's unfortunate. Look, it's just a big party. It's a big party, and the Golden Globes were always kind of a fun thing. They never were a big thing, but if they provide ratings, then they become a big thing for people who can sell ads and make money. And so it was just a matter of time that they were going to come back. I've always liked the Globes because they didn't take themselves too seriously. And then some reporters, I guess it was the LA Times, they went in and they said, "Oh, the foreign press not diverse enough," and so they made some changes. Actually, the bigger problem was that there was, maybe some funny things going around with. I mean, it's the Hollywood the foreign press. It's not like a big thing there. They have one big award ceremony, and that made them a target. So I'm glad they're on the up and up now, or at least they're trying, the Hollywood foreign press. And there's some Filipinos there, there's some Asians, but the big story for Asian Americans, and actually for everyone, maybe Michelle Yeoh, right? I mean, her first Golden Globe. The funniest moment when they tried to play her off, and she wouldn't go. She said, "Hey, told them to shut up." She says, "Hey, I can beat you up," and she's serious. She was. She says, when I first encountered Michelle Yeoh, I thought she was hot. When you see a martial arts female. And I first encountered her in the 80s. I think it was a Jackie Chan movie or something she was in. I was, it had to be 84, 85 when I was doing entertainment and reviewing movies in San Francisco. But I thought she was hot. I thought she was also in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Uh, just you know that women martial artists exist, but she was always an icon for me, and to see her get that recognition, when she says 40 years not letting go of this. I mean, you had to be, you know, that was the Asian American experience, right? The Asian American experience is to be ignored and to be just overlooked. You do your thing, you do great things. I mean, she was in all these great movies, worked with Spielberg, worked with Ang Lee, worked with, Danny Boyle. She said it. She said, my life's been good, but, 40 years, not letting go of this. And for people of a certain age who've been at it a while, who haven't switched and done different things like I have, but who've just done, the thing. She's been an actress. She's been a martial artist. She's been an artist. How gratifying. And I loved when she said, she says, when I first came to Hollywood, it was a dream come true until I got here. Because look at this face. And people knew what she meant. She said, I came here and said, I was told you're a minority. And I'm like, no, that's not possible. And then someone said, you speak English. And she says, I mean, forget about them not knowing Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Asia, India. Could have said them all. And then I said, the flight here was about 13 hours. So I learned as time went by, which is funny. She's 60 years old. And when she said that, how many white female actresses out there wish they knew martial arts? Because their career would be extended if they only knew martial arts. No, she's a special one, Michelle Yeoh. And then she thanked the Daniel Kwan, Daniel Scheinert for Everything Everywhere All at Once. And she calls that movie a gift. It's a gift for the entire Asian American community. I mean, it's crazy sci-fi multiverse kind of thing. I mean, not sci-fi in the bad way. What's bad sci-fi? It stretches the bounds of science, but it's this. I've learned to love science fiction. I've learned to love it as just the reach of metaphor to go beyond and to tell a simple tale extraordinarily well by being in this new open realm. I love the movie and the metaphor of it and the ordinariness of, Michelle Yeoh and the Wong family. Their laundromat. They're getting audited. Just that simple, ordinary thing, right? And here is this multiverse and magnificent story. And it really is the Asian American immigrant story. We live in an absurd world when you're Asian American. You try to be normal. You try to run your laundry business. But one day you get audited, and then your daughter, your daughter's issues come in. It was a great movie. I really enjoyed Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's 6 Golden Globe nominees, and they got another award, another victory, right, for her co-star. But I didn't catch I didn't catch Ke Huy Quan, his acceptance speech. I didn't see that guy. I was just flipping around. I saw her, Michelle Yeoh, and then I saw Spielberg, and I thought it was great. Now, if the I don't want to call them the Academy, if the Hollywood Foreign Press folks, if they want to get back in the good graces of Hollywood, all they have to do is just make sure that the big star showed up and won awards. And Spielberg was great. I love Steven Spielberg. I love early Spielberg. I love Sugarland Express. That's how far back I got. I love the story of the guy and making movies as a teenager, and I haven't seen The Fabelmans yet because I'm not going into theaters quite yet, but I guess I will. But boy, that speech was great. I thought he said, the fact that everyone sees me as a success story and everybody sees all of us as the way they perceive us based on how they get the information. The importance of the media. But nobody really knows who we are until we're courageous enough to tell everyone who we are. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure out when I could tell that story. And so now here he is, 74. He's telling that story. I think that was just a great summation of the power of story. The power of telling the story, being vulnerable, being truthful, and then getting an honor like the Golden Globes. I mean, yes, it's enough to be nominated. And we talked about Michelle Yeoh when she was nominated a few months ago. But you win. And oh my God, you win. And that's the stamp. I mean, yes, it's enough to be nominated. You say that when you lose. But when you win, it's just a reminder. You're good. You connect. You tell stories that connect you with others. We're not alone. We're together in this universe, multiverse. We're connected. And it's just, that's life. I mean, look, it's nice to have a lot of money and a car, nice cars, a jet or whatever. But in the end, that's not what matters. That's not, I mean, you can make your life into that, which is a roundabout way to get to happiness, because, all right, so the billionaires have to go up to, whatever, 100 billion or whatever to come back to happiness, because then after they make it, they got to give it away. It just seems like a lot of work. You can make a beeline to happiness just by making truly the important things important and not making some of those lesser things too important. So when Michelle Yeoh holds that and holds the Golden Globe and says, I'm, you're not taking this away from me. It's taken 40 years. You're not taking this away. She says, I'm just going to stand here and take this all in. She wasn't up there for more than, 4 minutes? Which is a lot. But she says, 40 years, I'm not letting go of this. I presume both the statue and just the moment where you're soaking it all up. I'm telling you, it was great to hear her, great to hear Spielberg. Eddie Murphy, I happened to catch when I was, flipping around. Eddie Murphy was all right. He looked he looked humble. If you're going to get a big award, it's best to be humble. And then he surprised us all with his punchline at the end, which was kind of surprising. I mean, a Will Smith joke at the end, I guess, but I didn't really, I didn't laugh. I was more surprised. But that was, I'm trying to find my note on Michelle Yeoh. That was really something. All right, so God, I can't. I got. Oh, here's Michelle Yeoh. She says that I liked her last line. She said she thanked the people who believed in her. This is also for all the shoulders that I stand on. And when she mentioned that, I said there are a lot of shoulders she stood on. A lot of them weren't Asian American immigrants. They were Asian Americans, some immigrants. The great Asian American actors who had to play the roles they did in the 60s and the 70s. And then the character actors. I mean, because that's who most of them were. I mean, I think of a character actor like Leon Lontok, who played the Filipino driver in Burke's Law. Those are shoulders that Michelle Yeoh stood on. But she said she thanked all those, the shoulders that she stood on, who came before me, who look like me. That was the thing. Who look like me and who continue on this journey with me forward. That was a good, I mean, who look like me. When she said that, I said, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, sister. I was thinking about Leon Lontok, thinking about all those Filipino character actors in Bataan, 1943. Yankee Salazar, private first class. Yankee Salazar, private first class. There are all those guys. Michelle Yeoh. I may have to change my name to Emil Guillermo, because I had the Mo thing, Guillermo, but Mo, Three Stooges Mo, maybe it's Guillermo. It's just in honor of Michelle Yeoh or something. And I'm kind of on her journey. I'm taking to the stage with my my one-man play, Lost NPR host found under St. Mark's. The title says it all. Lost NPR host found. I'll be where? Under St. Mark's in Manhattan. They're on East 6th Street. Thursday, February 16th, 8:10 p.m. And I'm doing 6 other performances, 7 total, finishing up March 4th. Check my website at amok.com. Not now, but I'll put it up there by tomorrow about where you can get tickets. It's going to be, I'd like to make it a hot ticket because there's only it's a very small theater, very intimate, more intimate than my closet. But I'm going out there. I'm a little worried there's going to be COVID protocols, whatever the theater's protocols are, but people are out there. They're out and about in New York. They're out and about everywhere. Performers are performing. And so I thought, I've already missed 2 fringe festivals that I was accepted to that I couldn't go because of COVID. And I haven't been at a fringe festival for, I haven't been performing at a fringe for about 2 years since the pandemic, 2020. So it's time. So I'm going out, and part of me is a little, I'm going to be masked until I don't have to be masked, but the mask, tragedy, comedy, COVID, and I'm I hope it's going to be good. February 16th. So we got a month yet. But I'll put it up on my website at amok.com and check it out. I hope you'll look. There's a way that you can check it out virtually. So if you're in Hawaii or you're in California, you don't have to fly to New York. I mean, you could. I mean, that you could if you really wanted to, but no, you could just see it from the comfort of your home. But you got to buy a ticket. All right. So I'll put it up on amok.com, all the details. But February 16th is the first night. Then February 18th, February 23rd, February 25th, 26th, March 3rd, and March 4th. Oh, wow. I'll have a lot of shows to get good at. Lost NPR host found under St. Mark's and other stories. And Emil, what is this thing, this show? Well, it's sort of like my all pucked up NPR and Harvard and more. Different iteration, new jokes. Don't make fun of Trump as much. But it should be fun. It should be fun. And I hope to see you there. Really, I hope to see you there. All right, we got into a lot of things today. I see if, because sometimes things happen, so some people may want to ask, well, Emil, are you going to talk about Joe Biden? And of course I'll talk about Joe Biden. I'll talk about Joe Biden as is appropriate. I mean, I think what Joe Biden has done in the 2 years that he's been in office has been pretty remarkable. He got a lot done in the last Congress with Nancy Pelosi. The House lost the midterms, but this is not good. What's going on with this document case with Biden, but it's not the same. You must realize it's not the same, and it's not the same because as soon as Biden found out, his attorney, when he found out, released it. So we need more details about why it was in a closet, why it was under lock and key, apparently, but totally different reactions. And also in terms of sheer number, at least from what we know now. So it's not totally analogous to the Donald Trump situation, which Donald Trump really did try to avoid and try to, there seems to be some kind of, if willful intent is one of the ideas that determine how deeply criminal this matter should go, well, I think more so Trump, less so Biden. And so let's see. I mean, it's out there in the news, but right now it's just mostly people speculating about what it could mean, what it does. Meanwhile, let's just see what happens with all the other thing. I mean, look, I'm concerned about this debt ceiling idea. I know it sounds like they're our representatives, let them do it. But they've set it up so that the biggest tool that they have to deal with it, they have neutered, this idea of the automatic raising of the debt ceiling, and they want to make it political. They want to make it so Republicans, want to make it so this is a bargaining chip for something else. We'll raise the debt ceiling, but we're going to have to cut Social Security and Medicare. Really? You would sink our country? Have our country default on loans? I mean, that's what the Republicans want to do. They want to send the United States into really a kind of, under the guise of trying to be fiscally responsible, they're being fiscally irresponsible, which doesn't make sense, but only makes sense to Republicans who are trying to do their darndest to muck things up in the U.S. government. So it's sad. It's sad because the good, and I'll finish with this today. The good news today, and we got to remember this because it was a little more than a week. Damar Hamlin in the hospital, no one knew what was going to happen with him. He suffered cardiac arrest in the football field, Monday Night Football, a week ago last Monday. Now they flew him out of Cincinnati to Buffalo, and today he walked out of a Buffalo hospital. So a good story, but I mention it in terms of all this other political nonsense because when it came to Damar Hamlin, people could unite around him. People could show empathy, could show caring, could show love. In the absence of politics, that happens. We knew we were on the same team. We should not forget that. And we should always remember that Damar Hamlin is that example that we can show that kind of care toward each other. It's not apparent. It's not apparent when you hear the rhetoric that people fling around politically. You heard the thing I played for McCarthy today, talking about George Santos, like absolutely does not make sense, except that McCarthy needs a liar's vote. And when you need a liar's vote, you're going to go to bat for the liar. Well, why not? He went to bat for the other liar. All right, with that, we end our show for today. Hey, regular listeners know that Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific live, we come on. And you catch us on Emil Amok on Twitter. Catch us on Facebook. Yeah, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media. Catch us on YouTube at YouTube/Emil Amok1. That's it. YouTube/Emil Amok1. And then, of course, at www.amok.com. Hey, Emil Guillermo here. Thank you. Thank you for being here. No music. We're dry today. We're dry because somehow the music bug wouldn't kick in. And so we're dry. Some people say, we like you without music. Well, I like the music. Regular listeners also know that I end with a little meditation. And really today's meditation is about that voice in your head. That voice in your head that says, you're no good. You don't look good. You don't sound good. You're no good. Don't even get out of bed. There's that voice. When you hear that voice, hear it and just flip it and think the opposite. You're no good. You're great. You smell. You're so florid. You can't do a damn thing. I can do everything. Just flip everything. Just do the opposite because that is what the voice wants you to do. Because the voice is there to bring on that negativity. Your only way to combat it is to stop it, flip it, reverse it, because you're better than the voices in your head. So when you hear them, silence them. Here's what I do. I think about Diana Ross and the Supremes. When they say, they get out in their sequin gowns and they say, stop in the... You could complete the sentence, I know. And it gets the thought out. You end up with a new thought of love. And you've defeated the voices in your head. Emil Guillermo. Oh, it would help also if you say this chant. As I wished for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal. Mahal.